bunch of organization to do to start, because I got to bring over all these stack of books that I've been collecting behind me. My desk is already a bit messy too, so let's do that though. You know what, let's start with the books that are going to go out. All right, that's what we're going to talk about today. Books coming in, books going out of my library right now. Before we do that, if you want to support the channel, give me a thumbs up. You can become a patron, patreon.com/CurtisMcHale. You can take one of my courses, curtismchale.ca/Skillshare. You find all those links below. Let's buckle up. Let's look at the books going in. I'll start with out. Going out, and then the ones that are coming into my library. First up, Going Out, Guests of the Nation by Frank O'Connor. I know this is a classic Irish book, and I started reading it. It just wasn't getting into it, so it's going out now. I don't need it. It doesn't need more explanation than that. I don't feel bad about not reading classic books. If I'm just not feeling it, I just don't read it. Fearvana by, I can't even say that name. Fearvana. I got this for free. They were doing like a bunch of promotion stuff. I got it for free. That's it. It was a free book. I wanted it because it was free. There's no other reason. I don't even remember what it's about. And I haven't read it in like a long time, so I'm just not going to read it. The Love Dare. I actually realized we have a copy of this, so I'm just getting rid of one. This is from Fireproof. It's a cheesy Christian Kirk Cameron movie, but it's got a good message on like just working on your marriage. So there's a bunch, like a month-long challenges in it for you to work on your marriage. It is faith-based, so if you're not into that, don't go for it. You won't like it. Normal Sucks. I reviewed this. I'll link it below. Maybe link it up above as well. This is about how being normal just doesn't work, and it's not true. And the truth is, this is a memoir about it more than a research book. The End of Average, I think, by Tyler Cowen was a better one, as far in the same genre. So I'm keeping The End of Average, and I'm not keeping this. C.S. Lewis, The Space Trilogy. First volume was good. This is a 3-volume book. First volume was good. Second volume was Third volume, I just couldn't even do it. It's like long, like multi-page paragraph exposition by some god thing. No, couldn't do it. I like the Narnia. This was just, no. So boring. So slow. War on Normal People by Andrew Yang. Good book. I enjoyed this. I just don't think I'm ever going to read it again. So this is about specifically looking at America. I did review this, so I'll put a link around to it somewhere. This is specifically from the American standpoint and what is up with the war on normal people as it looks at the changes in income, the changes in, changes in like inflation, and then it kind of comes up with calls it something like America Bucks, but basic income is what he talks about at the end. So I think he's actually going for like a mayoral candidate or something now in some city. I don't know. I'll Be Seeing You. Just reviewed this one. This is a memoir about Alzheimer's and your aging parents. Good book. Again, just not one I'm going to read again, so I'm going to take it back to the bookman for credit. It was a good book, and as I said in the review I did recently on this, it is made me think about what I'm going to tell my kids and have a discussion with them early on so that they can make these decisions that we need to make around, my aging, my memory loss maybe, so I don't fight them as much. High School Tegan and Sarah was on sale, and Tegan and Sarah's band, Canada, they were the same age as me basically, and it talked about their aging process, and they're growing up in Calgary. A lot of parallels to what I grew up in. I grew up near Toronto. But again, I'm just not going to read it again, so I'm going to get it out of my library. And you're going to see why when I get to my stack behind me. You can actually see it sticking up. It's like from the ground up to my couch. The Pragmatic Programmer, the book I always said I should totally read this, and I can see like from my bookmark, I'm like 20 pages in. Just never read it. Getting rid of it. That's it. Never, I don't know, it's supposed to be like this tome, an amazing book, but I'm going to get rid of it. Because I'm not going to read it. I don't do good at reading these code books. Ever. So I don't buy them anymore, but I did buy them at one point. Driver Mentors, Tim Ferriss. I was big on Tim Ferriss for a while. Really wanted this book. And I wrote in it and everything. And highlighted. Did I highlight? I definitely did some. Just a little. I might be able to take it back. Little brackets at least. I'm not sure that I highlighted. I just made like little brackets around some of the text that I thought was useful. So I might be able to take this and get credit at the Bookman. I might not. We'll have to see. Again, I got partway through it. You can see to the purple and stopped reading it. I actually already took back the other one. What was the other one? I don't remember. The orangey covered one, because I wasn't going to read that one either. Finally, One Canada, John Diefenbaker's 3-volume something on Canada. I found this at a book sale with like our local Rotary Club. And I'm never going to read them. I'm just never going to read them. I don't know why I thought I would, but I spent money on it. I'm going to return them or take them to the Bookman, hopefully get some credit for it. Now, we're kind of transitioning, so I'm going to have to change my stacks around. Because my book stack for stuff coming in is huge. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's start with this one, Ready Player 2. This is kind of it came in and it's going back out because I didn't like it. That's it. Just wasn't a good book. Ready Player 1 I enjoyed. I just don't enjoy Ready Player 2. The villain in this says something like, it's pretty lame to be stuck in the nostalgia of past generations because you couldn't invent anything useful yourself. And I agree. That's kind of how I feel. Like, it's just stuck in nostalgia the whole time. Not a book I was interested in. So it's going back. I got that from the Bookman. I read it, taking it back. Data Detective by Tim Hartford. So what have I listened to him? He's on a podcast I listen to. It's something with Malcolm Gladwell's podcast network. And this is a book about how to read data, how to do it well. I know I recommended it to someone at work, or I said that was one book I just got, and they read it and they laughed yesterday when someone asked me a question. I said, I do not have the data with which to make that decision. I don't know. And they laughed and said, that's like, you've totally read that book, and I haven't yet. That's just how I think. So they thought I would totally be into this because. So, The Data Detective by Tim Hartford. Hartford, not Hartford. Hartford. These are going to go over here because they're staying. No, I got to file them all is the biggest thing. We'll save that one for a second. I'm just going to save some of my fiction together. There we go. I don't know. I can't even see what's in them. Color of Law. This is about just how the forgotten history of our government segregated America, U.S., and I find a lot of these are parallel in Canada. So even like, I don't know about this book, but they'll talk, many of these style of book will talk about like how highways split up black neighborhoods because white people basically had the time to fight it and black people, no one listened to them. So they'd like just decimate a vibrant black neighborhood in favor of a white neighborhood. Wild Sex, Dr. Karen Bondar. She is actually a local person. An excellent, she's on our school board right now as a trustee, and she is a animal sex doctor. Yeah, so this is Behind Mating in the Animal Kingdom. It looked interesting. It was by a local person, so I got it. That's kind of the end of it. That's how I make some of these decisions. That's also how I get books I never read and like send back. So, Wild Sex by Dr. Karen Bondar. She's a cool person. Angie Thomas, The Hate You Give. So I've seen this for a while and looked at it. It's been on my of a book list for reading to educate myself because I'm a white dude. And this is one of the books that's come up on that. And so I saw it at a good price at the Bookman and grabbed it. That's like the end of it. I just knew it was on my list. Just going to switch over. I think that's fiction. That one's definitely fiction. As I organize on the way. Dude, there's so much stuff. So many books here. Always. Okay. The Chinese Must Go. So Yellow Peril was something, I don't know the exact time. I think it was around World War II where basically Chinese people, Asian people were viewed as this terrible person. You'll even see it in like Asian villains from early Batman, how they're depicted. Also how Chinese Asian people were often, at least the men, spoken of as like less virile and like this slimy little weasel that you had to avoid. So, we actually lived not too far from a Japanese intern camp. That was an internment camp in the 1940s, World War II, which I talk about regularly as we go through, because Canada stole land from Asian people and just never gave it back. So that'll be an interesting one. Tribe, Seth Godin. Have I read this one? I don't remember if I read this, but Seth Godin, short read. I generally have liked his books, so I picked it up because it was there in front of me, and I wanted to buy a book. That's just like the end of it. Geektastic by where's the author on this? Edited by Holly Black and Cecil Castellucci, I guess. So this is Stories for Your Inner Geek. I like the 8-bit art, and I'm a geek, and I just thought it'd be a useful book. Yeah, it'll be a fun book to read, so who knows if I'll actually keep that, but Geektastic, Stories from the Nerd Herd. And I'm more of a nerd now than I was back when I was a kid. Indigenous Relations, Insights, Tips, and Suggestions to Make Reconciliation a Reality. Again, back to, what was that book called again? The Hate You Give, which I have not read, or what did I read? I read, The Skin We're In, a few other books I've read recently. I Won't Talk to White People About Race by Renee Lodge. This is just one, again, from the First Nations point of view in Canada, and looking at, there's one about 21 things you didn't know about the Indian Treaty that I have as well. That's similar layout that I'd like to read. So I need to keep beefing up on those things for myself, and that's what I'm going to read. Living with Intent by Malika Chopra. The Somewhat Messy Journey to Purpose, Peace, and Joy. These can be good, although I admit when I read a book like this about living with intent, living with purpose, I'm usually looking for the one or two tidbits because I've read a lot in these genres, and I'm probably not going to pick up a whole ton, but there'll be one or two tidbits. I'll be like, oh, maybe if I tweak my workflow that way. So I would expect long term that this does not stick around, that I read it and I take up a couple tidbits, review it, and I send it on out the way again. Liberal Fascism: The Secret History of American Left from Mussolini to the Politics of Meaning. Just looked interesting. I got nothing else. Sometimes I just buy books because they look interesting on the shelf. You probably do too. So that'll be one that we'll look at and read. Yeah, we'll see. I think the left is usually liberals, right? Liberal fascism. So I will read this with a slight concern. Because it's really easy for usually white guys, I'll just say, really easy for white dudes to be jerks and then to discount any experience that's not their own because it doesn't matter. So we'll read this one cautiously, but it still looked interesting to me. For the Love of Men, A New Vision of Mindful Masculinity. So there is a men's, there's a women's section, it's like 10 shelves, and there's like a men's section, it's like 12 books. And I would like to read something along the lines of, what's it called? Raising Empowered Daughters. I don't remember who it's by, but I reviewed that. I'd like to read something along the lines of from how to be good men. Because so much of what we are brought up into is just terrible. Hoping this is one of those books by Liz Plank. So not by men, but women get stuck reading stuff from dumb men all the time. The Comeback Quotient. My wife and I both were interested in this. She's a sports coach, and this is about sports people coming back from great adversity. And I thought it'd just be an interesting one by Matt Fitzgerald. I got it. I'll read it at some point, but she was really wanted that book, so I just ordered it for her. Brave Genius by Sean B. Carroll. Yeah, it just looked interesting. A scientist, a philosopher, and their daring adventures from the French Resistance to the Nobel Prize. That looked interesting. That's it. I looked it up. It had a bunch of good reviews. I usually look at the 3-star reviews when I'm looking at stuff, and the 3-star reviews still said it was interesting. So there we go. Ordinary Genius. By who? Gino Segra? I don't know. By Gino. Ordinary Genius. The story of two ordinary scientists who changed the course of modern scientific inquiry. I think these are interesting because looking at, say, range or late bloomers, it just shows that, even if you didn't specialize in something from the beginning, you still may have a lot to contribute. And that just seemed like it would kind of go into that field as well, and maybe have something aligned with late bloomers or range. Struck by Genius: How Brain Injury Made Me a Mathematical Marvel. It just looked cool. I believe it's a memoir. It just looked cool. That's it. Title's that's awesome. I'll take it. Oh, Walter Isaacson, Da Vinci. Whew. I wanted this for a while. I saw it on the shelf. End of story. I've liked some of them. I've liked, what do I have over there? Steve Jobs biography I liked by Walter Isaacson. Innovators I liked by him, but what did I return? I returned a while ago the Einstein one. It just was not, that one was not doing it for me. So we'll see if this one does it for me or not. Well, my father-in-law really liked it, so maybe maybe this will be a good one. Brilliant Blunders from Darwin to Einstein, Colossal Mistakes, Great Scientists That Changed Our Understanding of Life in the Universe by Mario Livio. I'm going to guess. Again, it just sounded interesting because the mistakes we make and how we deal with them often define us. I always tell my kids, I have told my kids that it doesn't, how you deal with the mistakes, how you deal with your blunders speaks more to your character than the fact that you made them or not. So, Brilliant Blunders looked interesting. His Needs, Her Needs. This was just on my marriage books list. I don't remember where I found it. I wonder if I could look it up. Should I look it up for you? Do I have it in here somewhere? I gotta open up Craft. Of course, I went to the wrong screen. Let's bring it up. I'll even show you where it is. Craft. Do I have His Needs, Her Needs in there? I don't have it in there. So where did this even come up? I don't know. That's what I'm telling you. I don't actually know where this came up. His Needs, Her Needs, Building an Affair-Proof Marriage. I like my wife. I want to stay married. I want to do a good job at it. I want to be a good guy. It's another book in that genre. All right, now into my four fiction books. Actually, I don't know if this is fiction, so we'll go with this one. Kurt Vonnegut, Play Your Piano, a funny, savage appraisal of a totally automated American society of the future. I think that's a fiction book, though. So we're reading this in book club at work. I just got it. That's it. I don't know what it's about. I've recognized the name Kurt Vonnegut, but I've never read anything by him before. I feel like he's like a classic American author. So Midnight Library, Matt Haig. We read this for my book club at work, and I enjoyed it. And after I finished it on Kindle, I found a copy of it just sitting on the shelf at the bookstore, so I grabbed it because it was really good. And I will read this fiction book again because it's just good. Final two. James S.A. Corey, Tiamat's Wrath. I haven't actually read this one, but I've read most of the rest of the series, and I bought it because I want to complete the series. So that's it. Excellent sci-fi. So I guess it's on Prime now, but started on Sci-Fi, now on Prime series as well. So excellent. If you're really into science fiction, really, really good. And The Path of Daggers, finally, by Robert Jordan. I have listened to this series a couple times, and now I'm just collecting the books. I've got 4 or 5 out of like 14. Including this one. This is book number 8 of the Wheel of Time saga. Just Wheel of Time. It's a good one. The first 4 or 5 books, first couple books are good, and then maybe it's like 3, 4, 5 are a little slow, and kind of follow the same formula, and then it gets good again. So it gets good again. There's still like 9 books left, so maybe deal with the few that are only okay. That's it. Those are the books going in or out first, and in to my library. Since I don't even know the last time I did this. Honestly, maybe in 5 weeks. There's a lot of books coming in, which is why I'm trying to take more out. I actually started, it took me a while to build that out pile, as big as it was. It took me a little while to do that. And that's it. If you like the video, thumbs up below. If you have other book suggestions that you think might line up with some of the stuff I'm reading here, let me know. I'd love to hear them. You can support the channel by becoming a patron, patreon.com/Curtis McHale. I'm taking a course, links below. Join me on Discord. Pretty quiet channel right now. And I'll try to be streaming on Fridays at 1 p.m. for 2 hours. I don't think I have any Friday meetings coming up for a while, so I should be able to do that for the next number of weeks. That's it. Thanks for watching. I don't know if I said subscribe, bell, yada, yada, yada. You're supposed to do that stuff. It's supposed to help me. Have a good one.